Hello, and welcome to the Faith and Knitting Podcast. My name is Rhonda, and I'm coming to you from southeastern Pennsylvania, just outside of Philadelphia. And it is a beautiful, beautiful day today. Just bright blue sky and sunshine. And this area in May is absolutely beautiful. Right now, even just outside my window, there's a big rhododendron bush. I wish you could see it. It's taller than the window, covered in bright pink, these deep pink blossoms, and it's just so beautiful. It's a beautiful day today, and I hope you're having a good day. I hope it's beautiful and sunshiny wherever you are, wherever you're watching in the world. And actually, I would like to know where you're watching from. If you leave a comment after the show at the bottom in the comment section, let me know where you're watching from. I think it's just fascinating to think that, I could be here on the East Coast of the US and you could be watching or knitting. We could be knitting together, and you could be somewhere completely in the other part of the world. And so I just think that's really fascinating. And so when you leave a comment, and I hope you do, leave a comment, say hello, and let me know where you're watching from. I'd be really interested to hear. And so this is the first episode of the Faith and Knitting Podcast, and I'm so excited about it. I'm a little nervous about it. This is harder than I thought it would be, talking to my phone, but I'm so excited, and I'm so glad that you joined me, and I hope you'll enjoy it. I hope there'll be many more episodes, and I hope that you'll join me for those as well as we go on this faith adventure and a knitting adventure. And the name of the podcast is Faith and Knitting because that's what I'll be talking about. I'll be talking about faith, and I'll be talking about knitting. But before I get into that, I will just introduce myself, let you know a little bit about me. Again, my name is Rhonda, and I live here on the East Coast of the U.S. with my husband and our 3 children. And actually, our oldest son is not living here at the moment. He's away at college. He's just about finished. He has, I think, 1 or 2 more classes to take, and then he'll be done. He'll be graduating in a few weeks, and we're just so excited for him. And he'll be coming back home, and he already has a job lined up. He's doing really well, and so it's great. It's very exciting. And our second son, our middle son, is also beginning a new venture. He is a video game streamer. He started his channel back in March, so he's still building up his viewership. He's still kind of working with his channel to get it, to build it up and make it really something special. And so I will give a shameless plug for him. He streams on Twitch TV. His streamer name is Kodama210. So if you have anyone in your family, a younger person, or even yourself who likes video game streamers, I encourage you to stop by his channel. I'll leave the link below. If you have younger ones who like streamers, there's no language on his channel that was something that you wouldn't want your younger one to hear. He has what they call a family-friendly channel, so that you don't have to worry about them hearing language that you would not want them to hear, even for the youngest viewers of streamers. So stop by, have them stop by and say hello. And again, Kodama is the name that he streams under. And he's doing well. Again, he's only been 2 months, so he's still building up his channel. But I just wanted to give that shout out for him. And so if you can, support that channel as well. And our daughter is our youngest one, and she is almost finished high school. Actually, this is her last week of school. So she's finishing up. She'll be graduating in just a few weeks. And so it's an exciting time. There's a lot going on. And exciting, but a little sad. She'll be going off to Massachusetts for college in the fall. So that's going to be hard. It's going to be sad. She's my baby. And so, but there's lots of good changes. And this one is a good change. This podcast, I hope this is something that is going to be a benefit and a joy to all you who watch, and to me as well as I do it, because it's exciting. As far as me, I serve as a chaplain for the women at our local prison, not far from our home. And I've been doing it. This is my 3rd year as chaplain. I went in for 4 years as a volunteer. And now back in the beginning of 2019, I became the chaplain for the women. And it has been such a blessing. It's been really, really amazing. I've met so many women, and it's been a difficult year for all of them because of it's been a difficult year, the past 12, 13 months for all of us because of, this COVID pandemic that we've been living under, all the changes, the stress, the uncertainty, the disruption, the isolation, all of it's just been difficult, but especially so, I think, for those incarcerated because they haven't been able to see family. There's been no visitors into the prison, no family. They haven't seen their children in over a year, no husbands, nobody, no visits at all in the prison. So that's been really tough. Shut down all the church services, all the classes, all the things that kind of made things bearable during their stay. They haven't had, and they've had to spend more time in their cells. And it's been tough not being able to minister face to face because we're not allowed to even see them, meet one-on-one even. So it's been difficult, but it has been, overall, it's been such a joy and a privilege to be able to just minister to the women there. The first thing that I noticed when I went in the prison is how young most of the women are. That was the thing that was so surprising to me because I had ideas in my mind about what it would be like, in the prison, based on movies, not based on really reality. But the thing that really struck me was how young most of these women are, early 20s. They should be ones that you would see walking around on a college campus somewhere, but they're there, in prison. And the other thing that really got to me at the beginning was some of the stories I would hear about the things that happened to them, about their lives, and tales of abuse and neglect and just a really bad start. And you would hear those things and you think, well, no wonder they end up in prison. No wonder they started, taking drugs or whatever it is. That was one of the tougher parts, I think, hearing the stories. But for the most part, they are sweet, young women. Most of them are like just quiet and peaceful, and I enjoy being with them. I enjoy trying my best to encourage them and trying to help them to see that there's a different life that they can live. And it's been a blessing. It really has. And I just want to encourage them and help them to see, the possibility of what God can mean in their lives. And so they come to the church services and they sit there with their eager little faces, and it's just such a blessing. It is such a privilege and an honor to be there, to be the one that to be the one that can help them and guide them to hope and to peace and to a life of purpose and meaning. So, and in a broader sense, that's what I'd like to do with this podcast. I'd like to be able to encourage you as you watch, to give you inspiration and just uplifting. And I will plan to do a little devotional talk at the beginning of the podcast. Not as long as this because, I'm just doing the introduction now and telling you about myself. But most of the time, the opening won't be this long and this much talking. But it is what I would like to do with this podcast. That same kind of encouragement, that same kind of uplifting, that same kind of inspiration for hope and peace that I give to the women at the prison is what I want to bring here. I want it to feel like you're sitting down with a friend over coffee and being encouraged and being just being loved on. So thank you for joining again. We're so glad to get this started. It's been something that I've thought about and kind of been in my mind for the last few months, and so I'm doing it, and I just hope that it goes well. And I just ask you to forgive the nervous, fumbly beginning because this is a little more difficult than I thought, but it'll come. So as far as the faith segment, there's lots of different types of faith. There's lots of things that people have faith in, but so just to be clear and to clarify, when I speak of faith in knitting, I'm speaking of faith in the God of the Bible, the God who reveals himself through the pages of Scripture. And that is one thing that I want to incorporate into this podcast. I mean, of course, it's faith and knitting, so that's a big part of it. And I'm on a journey. I'm on a faith adventure. I want to know God more. I want to experience all the goodness that he has for me. This, and I believe this podcast is part of that. Working at the prison is part of that. Being a mom and a wife is all part of that. And so I just want to encourage you where you are in your life, whatever is going on, that God is the God of hope. The Bible tells us that he is our hope. He is an anchor that secures our soul, even over the times of this past year with the pandemic and sickness and death and, unease all around. He remains the same. He remains the anchor that keeps us and holds us. So I just want to be able to share that with you through this podcast and encourage you, no matter where you are, what you're going through, no matter how tough this past year has been for you. God cares for you. He loves you. So just know that and believe that. No matter how hard this past year has been, no matter what hardships you may have experienced, you may be in a dry place. You may be in a hard place. You may feel as though you're dried up and all hope is gone. I want you to know that God is able to bring new life out of dryness and brokenness. He's able to bring beauty out of ashes, and what we thought was hopeless, what appeared to be beyond repair, becomes full of possibility and new life in his hands. He is the God of beauty and abundance, the God of new beginnings, the God of second chances, the one who makes all things new. I believe that God places beauty around us to remind us of himself. And when we lift up our eyes and focus our gaze on him, he is able to bring freshness and restoration to our dry places. He offers water for the parched ground of our lives, healing for the bruised heart, joy and peace for the dry and thirsty soul, and beauty, so much beauty, for the weary eye to behold. He makes all things new. Moving to the knitting part of the podcast, I'll start out with just a little bit of my craft history. I started out as a quilter. I took my first quilting classes about 25 years ago, actually, and I was just so on fire for quilting. I quilted and quilted and quilted. That was even before our oldest son was born. And so I made little wall hangings. I quilted all sorts of things. Then once our children started coming, I quilted bumpers for the crib. I made little crib blankets and stroller blankets with quilting, wall hangings, pillows. Then I got into sewing, and I did a lot of sewing with curtains and placemats and tablecloths and all of those things. And then I got into rug hooking, making hooked rugs, where I did work with wool. We cut it into strips, and you pull it up through the backing, the foundation, and create beautiful, it's almost like coloring, where you work inside the line as you're pulling up the strips of wool in different colors, and you create beautiful pictures. So I hope to be able to share some of those, some of my quilting things that I've done, and some of my rug hooking that I've done with you at some future time. Let me just have a sip here. I feel like I'm getting dry. And in case you this is my green concoction here, is I received a juicer earlier this year for my birthday, and I've been juicing, and it is so good. This is like lettuce and carrots and apples, pears, cucumbers, and you just mix it all in, and the juice that comes out it is absolutely delicious. So you feel like you're just drinking health and nutrition. Ah, it's so delicious. So, yes, so quilting, then sewing, then rug hooking, and then I took up knitting. And I started knitting. I took my first knitting class about 9 years ago. And over the past, and I kind of dabbled in and out. I was kind of going from this hobby to that hobby to this hobby. But over the last 2 or 3 years, I think it's been, that the knitting bug just bit me. And I have just been so focused on knitting. And I discovered, I guess sometime during the early part of the lockdowns from the pandemic, knitting podcasts. I had never seen them before. I didn't know about them. And it's been so great. And that's why I say it's so great to just the idea of someone knitting or talking about knitting on the other side of the world. And I can sit here in my little kitchen in Pennsylvania and knit, or on my couch in the evenings and knit, and watch another knitter talk about what she's doing, and just be inspired and just inspire each other. So I am hoping to do that. I'm hoping to inspire you and encourage you, and as you watch the podcast. So that's kind of where I am. Just checking my notes to see where I am. So this is a knitting adventure, and so far I've only been doing, like I said, it's been mostly 2 or 3 years that I've been seriously knitting, and it's been very basically basic, the patterns that I've chosen. And I have this thing where I take free patterns from Ravelry or from some of the other places that I watch and that I focus on. And I find patterns that are free, and they've been very simple patterns. So I'll show you some of the first things that I did. Actually, hold on one second. Let me grab it. Okay, I got a whole stack of things here. Some of the first things that I did when I began knitting was these little slouchy hats. And it's very, again, basic. It's just a 2x2 rib, and then the rest is garter stitch. And it's meant to, I'll just try it on for you, meant to be kind of a slouchy. So yeah, I like it. It's very cozy and warm and comfortable. And then I did that one, and then I did another one that is actually the same pattern. I just used this kind of tweedy taupe colored yarn that I wear a lot in the wintertime. And this was like a couple years ago when everybody's wearing their slouchy beanies, but I still wear mine. I like it a lot. So, and I'm sorry, I keep looking over here when I should be looking at the camera, but just getting myself confused. And so these were the 2 things, and I'm going to go through these sort of quickly because I have a lot that I want to show you. These are things that I made over the past couple of years. I started out with the hats, and then I made another thing, and I'll try to put pictures of the things that I'm showing you. I've tried to put the pattern pictures up for you to see. I'm not that good with technology, so I'm hoping to be able to put in pictures as I'm talking about things. I'll show you the picture of the pattern picture, and hopefully that'll work as I'm doing the editing process. So this was one of my first sweater actually, and it is this roll neck. You can have it up or you can roll it down, and I think the bottom edge rolls a little bit as well, and it's in this beautiful kind of cinnamon golden color stockinette stitch, and it's a nice fit. I'm surprised. I actually was surprised how well it came out. It's not perfect, but it came out better than I thought, with this being my first sweater. But again, it's very, very simple. The front and the back are the same. It's like the same, you make the thing twice and then you just sew it together. So it's as simple as you can get. But it came out very nice, very soft, very warm. And I'll try it on so you can see how it goes. Okay, so this is, again, was my first sweater. I don't know if I'll stand up. It's a short sleeve, which you can wear. It's great for fall. And you can see the little roll edge there. I have to go on my tiptoes. You can see the roll edge, but it's form-fitting without being too tight, and the color is just beautiful and perfect for fall. Yeah, and you can keep the neck high, or you can kind of smush it down a little bit, and yeah, I'm just so happy with it. I'm very pleased with it. So this was the first sweater I made, and again, I was just working on very basic patterns. Everything that I did was very, very basic. And this is the yarn. I'll just show you there. It's called Clara. Put on my glasses so I can see. It's called Filatura di Crosa. I'm probably not pronouncing that right. And Clara. So you can see, I'll show you again. But it's a beautiful, beautiful yarn. And so the colors, again, it's got this gold and cinnamon and little bits of red. It's really, really pretty. And then after I made this, I had a good bit of yarn left over because I overbought. I wasn't sure. I was kind of very new and I didn't know how much yarn to buy, so I overbought. And so I had the yarn left over, and I saw this cowl. This kind of romantic Heathcliff type, it reminded me of. And so I thought that would be beautiful for the rest of the yarn that I had. So I began working on it, and it had this drapey, beautifully draped cowl neck. Then it comes up as a hood. And so here's my version. You can see I did not finish it, because this is a beautiful pattern. I don't know if it has a name or what it is, but it's you can see the stitchery, and I think I did it right, but the pattern, the picture of the pattern, it was so nice and draped around her face, and it just looked so good. And this is beautiful, but when I put it on, this is like a chokehold. It is not drapey. It's kind of, and I think I had the stitch gauge right. I think it was all right, and I couldn't figure out what was different. Even though it's beautiful, it didn't have the drape. I don't know. And then I thought about it as recently. At first I just didn't know what was wrong because I didn't know that much about knitting, but I think it's the yarn. Because in the pattern they called for, I think it's alpaca, which I think is a much more drapey yarn. You get a better drape with it. And this is maybe just a case of not the right yarn for the project. I was going to try it on for you, but I think I won't because, yeah, it's nice. And it's such a beautiful yarn. I don't want to just kind of chuck it. So I think I'm gonna unravel everything. Even though this stitch work, I really like that, but I think as a cowl neck, it doesn't work unless maybe I make it bigger and that'll help it to drape. I don't know, but I think I'll try this pattern again, but using a different yarn. Because I think it's really pretty and just kind of romantic because it covers your neck, it covers your ears, it covers your head. And so it could be very nice to wear on those cold winter days, but this yarn was just not the right choice for that. By Plymouth Yarn, Baby Alpaca Grande Tweed. I don't know, to me it just seems romantic and kind of like one of those Wuthering Heights things, or maybe even like Little Red Riding Hood. But I thought, how pretty. And it's warm around the neck. Again, the ears, the head's covered. But Baby Alpaca was what they used. So I think, look at the drape. That's what I mentioned, the drape of it. So pretty. Not a chokehold like mine was. But I'm gonna try this one again. Maybe I'll even try using alpaca with it. I don't know. But I will see. But I would love to have that. I think it's really pretty. Okay, and also you can probably see behind me, it's my quilting fabric, kind of hopefully neatly arranged by color. That's where I do keep my quilting fabric, and over here, this cabinet here is my wool for rug hooking. So again, I hope to be able to share with you some of those, some of the things I've made, the quilts and the hooked rugs I've made. So the next thing that's on the list of my quilting, my knitting journey, is this pretty pink sweater with the dark pink. And I really, really like these kind of tone on tone things, lighter tones of the same color, different tone. I know there's shades and tones, different shades and tones of the same color, some lighter, some darker, however that works out. But I really like the look of that. So this sweater I made, which is perfect for springtime, perfect for now, but I'm not finished with it because you can see I'm just right down to the sewing the sleeve seam and the side seam together, and I think it'll be just really pretty. And it has the cuffs with the darker color, and so this is really yeah, I think this is going to be nice. I won't try it on because it's kind of in pieces and I haven't finished it, but hopefully I wanted to finish it to be able to wear it this spring. But it's already the middle of May and I'm not done with it yet, but I'm almost done. So I think I might still be able to get some wear out of it, even though it's starting to really warm up now. So that was this one, and it's this beautiful kind of heathery pink. You can see the lighter shades in there, beautiful. And then this, and let me get the little ball band for that. Okay, so this is Lion Brand, and the colorway is, well, there's rose heather, but the darker part is dark rose heather. And again, so soft, so beautiful. And they have these you can see the color, the variation, the little bit light, the heathery part to it. So very, very pretty, and I think it'll be very nice. Not warm, but not too heavy. It'll be perfect for springtime. And my next sweater is a product of the pandemic. As I was getting more, a year ago, as I was getting more into like knitting sweaters and knitting in general, I wanted to make, I was so eager to make a sweater, but I didn't have enough yarn to make a full sweater, and everything was shut down. This was like early in the shutdowns of things, early pandemic. And I didn't have enough yarn to make a full sweater. So I got the idea, I'm just going to use all different kinds of yarn, put it all together, you know, thin yarn, thick yarn, whatever. And I'm going to make a pandemic sweater. And it's going to, the story is that I had to use all different kinds of yarn because everything was closed and I could not go out and shop for yarn. So this is my pandemic sweater. It's multicolored, and there's some thinner yarns, which you can see they kind of get lost in there, and then there's some thicker yarns, but it actually, I think it actually came out not too badly. It's from an old pattern that, if you can, let me show you the back where you can probably see. And it's just yarn that I put together because I did not have enough of any one particular yarn to make a cardigan, which is what I really wanted. And this yarn here is very thin and very, you can almost see through it. And then this yarn right next to it is very thick. So it's just kind of a compilation of lots of different yarns, but it came out well. I will try this on as well for you, and you can see. Okay, so here's my pandemic sweater. Again, with all the different shades of purple, and there's some kind of rust I threw in there because I didn't, just trying to make have enough yarn to finish the sweater. So if I stand up, and you can see that it comes down. I don't know if you can see. I can't get the, let's see if I could tilt. It comes down, and it's big and loose. It's got these big sleeves that are loose and long. And with a pair of skinny jeans, it looks really good. It looks really good. And this is the pattern that I used. It's an old Barocco pattern book. And it's, when I saw that it was the stripes, the different yarns used to make, lots of different yarns used to make the sweater, I thought, well, that's the perfect pattern because I'm going to be using different yarns because of for my pandemic sweater. So when I did that, and it looks to me, it looks a little dated, but I didn't want it to be quite as big, and I didn't want it to have buttons. I wanted it to be just kind of an open front cardigan. And I think, yeah, so I changed the buttons, and I left off, I made the front panels a little more narrow so that it would be open, it would hang open and not lap over for buttons. So I enjoy this. I've worn it out a couple of times. I wasn't sure when I first made it if I was going to actually wear it out somewhere, because I thought, well, it's sort of, you know, it's a lot of colors in it, and I wasn't sure if colorful sweaters were, you know, a thing. And then my daughter showed me this picture, which I'm hoping to be able to put here, of Harry Styles in his colorful sweater, and people just went wild about that sweater. I mean, they released a pattern for it. People were knitting it up. My daughter asked me if I could knit one for her, and I said absolutely no way, because all those little squares, it would take forever. And so I told her, you know, you can knit it. And I've taught her to knit. She's not very much into knitting now. Hopefully at some point she will get more into knitting, but I said, well, you can do it. You can knit it yourself. And she didn't. I guess even for Harry, that was too much of a sacrifice. But people just went crazy about this sweater. And it's all patchworky and, you know, bright colors. So when I saw that, and I thought, okay, well, you know, it's not such a bad thing to have a very colorful sweater. So but I do wear it, and I do enjoy it. There's a lot wrong with it. I had trouble getting the collar to meet because I changed the pattern, and that was probably a little early in the game for me to be trying to change patterns, but it works. It's, you know, I haven't even blocked it. I didn't even know about blocking until like a few months ago. So I haven't even blocked this. So maybe, because this kind of tends to lay open like that, but maybe once I block it, it'll be even more enjoyable, and I'll enjoy wearing it even more. So this is my pandemic sweater. And let's see, the next thing on, and this is just all different kinds of yarn, and whatever I had left over. There's nothing, I don't have any bands to show what yarn it is. It's just whatever I had, and if it had a little bit of purple in it, I put it in here. So yeah, don't have much about yarn information for this one. So the next one that we're going to look at, oh, this is, actually I'm going to take this off because it is May now. It's a little warm. But the next thing, I just spoke about my daughter who I taught how to knit, and I bought her yarn. I gave her needles. You know, I'm encouraging her to knit. And so I was looking at patterns. I said, well, what you need is a pattern. You need to have a pattern, because she was knitting. She knitted just a swatch, which looked sort of like a scarf, but she just kept going, and it was getting longer and longer, and she didn't know what it was going to be or what she was going to do with it. So I said, well, what you need is a pattern. Let me find a pattern for you. And, you know, and you can follow the instructions, and then I think you really enjoy it better. So I found this pattern, which, again, hopefully a picture is popping up. And it was by Pearl Soho, the Snowy Owl. And she really liked it. She wanted it. She's like, yes, yes, yes. So I bought her the yarn and gave her needles that were the right size. I taught her how to knit in the round because she hadn't done that yet. And she got a couple of rows in, and then her enthusiasm kind of waned. And she wanted to have this because it's this big puffy owl that she wanted, because she said she could take it to college with her when she goes off to college. And when she gets a little homesick, or when she's missing being at home, she'll have her owl and she'll be able to, you know, snuggle with it. So I thought that was a sweet idea. And so what I did, you know, being the mom, I gave in to me probably making the owl for her. So I made a little test, because this owl is about 36 inches long, 36 inches wide. It's a huge owl, as you can see the picture. It's sitting in the chair. So I thought, well, I'm going to try the pattern to see how it is, but I'm going to make it smaller because I don't want a 36-inch owl. And I didn't have the right, of course, pandemic time, I didn't have the right yarn to make a snowy owl. So what I did have is this yarn. Actually, let me grab it and I'll show you the yarn, and then I'll talk about the owl. It's Patons Classic Wool. You can see that. And the colorway is called Harvest. Yeah. And it's just these beautiful, kind of saturated, bright, fallish colors. And it's wool. So, actually, look at there. I made this little owl. And I don't know if I reduce... Actually, I didn't change the pattern at all. That's right. I just used a thinner yarn and knitted it the same number of stitches, cast on, everything the same. And I just knitted it with thinner yarn and thinner needles. And this is the size it came out. It is so cute. It's so squishy and just so fun. So I call it my woodland owl. He's not my woodland owl. He's not a snowy owl. He's a woodland owl with his little ears. He's not finished, if you can see. He's supposed to have a beak, which this is going to be his beak. It's a nice rich brown, which I'm just going to, a little beak is supposed to be there. So I made this and I thought, oh yes, it was so fun to knit. But I don't know if you could see the diamond pattern as well because of all the colors of this, but it does have a, maybe you can see it a little bit. It does have a diamond pattern. But so a couple of weeks ago, when we went off to Massachusetts to visit the school that my daughter would be going to, I thought, well, this will be a good time for me to start the snowy owl for her. And I keep saying that funny, owl. That's one of those words I have trouble saying, owl. So I started the snowy owl for her when we had our trip up to Massachusetts to visit her school. So here is the owl. Now that the stores are open, I was able to buy, let's see if I can find the yarn for this. I'll get the yarn and I'll show you that. So here it is. I hope you, oh yes, you can see very well the diamond pattern. And it is, yeah, I just have inside here. He's got his yarn inside there. Yeah, it's gonna be beautiful. I just have to stuff it and I guess make the eyes, but it's gonna be a big, beautiful, very squishy, cozy owl. Owl for her to have at college with her when she starts to miss home. And yes, I did it. She did not last more than 2 rounds, but yeah, it'll be fun. I just have to find the roving for the eyes because it's hard to find it in different colors. I found like a dark gray that I could use, but the light blue that they use in the pattern, which I think is so pretty, I haven't been able to find that. So still working on this. Hopefully in 2 weeks when I do the next podcast, hopefully Mr. Owl will be finished. So that's that story, and it'll be ready for the end of August when my daughter goes off to college. I made these little hats. Let me stick them. And another thing that I wanted to say is that the idea of using our knitting to bless others. And I know we knit and give away gifts. I know we knit for our family and our friends and our loved ones. But knitting can also be used to bless those who, in our communities, those who are in need. I found out about a family shelter in our community that is one of the only family shelters around. There's men's shelters, we have women's shelters, shelters for homeless, people who are without a home. There are men's shelters and women's shelters, but there's very few family shelters, which are shelters where women can have their children with them. So I found out that there's one in our area. So I thought, well, I will make little hats, knitted hats for the children. And so I found this yarn, which is so pretty. It's Red Heart, and it's called Gumdrop. And you can see a picture of the hat, and on the inside they have the pattern. So that's the hat. And so and it comes in like these different colorways. This is like purple and lavender and turquoise and pink, and it's so pretty. And then there's this one, which is turquoise and pink and yellow and purple. And then there's this colorway, which is pink and purple and lavender and yellow. And they are so pretty. It reminds me of ice cream sherbet. The colors, and you just want to eat them. They're just so yummy and delicious. And so this is what I bought to make hats for the family shelter. So this was the first hat I made according to the pattern, and it has these little ridges in it where you knit some, you purl some, and it's really pretty. It's little 2x2 ribbing, and just a very simple hat. So I thought this would be perfect to make these and give to the shelter. So I made this one also in purple, but it's the same with the little sections of knit stitches and purl and knit and purl, and the little ribbed 2x2 ribbing at the end. So it was so fun. But this one I added in stripes of the turquoise. So it was fun because between here and here you can kind of do whatever, so I added in different colors just to add a little interest. Then I did one in the pink, which I have not finished yet, in the pink colorway with purple stripes, the same ribbing and the pattern in there. But then I thought I really want to go to make quite a few of them, and I want to go a little faster because I'm not a real fast knitter. So I thought I would make the hat, but leave out the purling and the knitting and all of that, and just do a stockinette stitch. So I made this one, the same 2x2 ribbing, but all stockinette stitch, and I put in, I did it in the turquoise, and I put in 2 purple stripes. So, and these are such cute little hats. They're small, they're easy to make. You can do it in an evening, and actually they're very stretchy. They're made for a child, but it fits pretty well. And so you can do these in an evening, and it's so fun to play around with the stripes and the colors and all of that. And so I made that one, and this one. And this is a little small one. This one I really like, just because, of course, it's not finished. Because I decided to put in one larger stripe, whereas this is purple and then one larger stripe. And again, you can just play around with the stripes and the colors and all of it. It's just fun. And then with the stockinette stitching, it goes by so quickly. And so I made a smaller hat because, with the children, depending on their ages, their sizes, some are bigger, some are smaller. So what I did was I simply cast on fewer stitches and did the same thing, and it came out as a smaller hat. But the thing to remember is when you're doing 2x2 ribbing, and if you're casting on more stitches or less stitches to change the size of the hat, you need to make sure that you're casting on numbers in multiples of 4 with the 2x2 ribbing, because I did not think of that and I didn't realize that. So I cast on my stitches. I did my first row and knit 2, purl 2, knit 2, purl 2, and I got to the end of the row and I knit 2, but I was out of stitches, and I realized, and I wondered what happened. So I realized, oh, you have to do it in multiples of 4 because, yeah, knit 2, purl 2. So just remember that. So yeah, it was fun. I made these hats, and then I thought, well, these are kind of, you know, girly type hats with the little sherbety look to them. So what about the boys? So I went and bought more yarn, and I made these so cute, so cute. I really like these hats. Same basic pattern, knit 2, purl 2, rib, and I had the, you know, stripes in there. And I bought also and made one in this colorway. So it was just fun playing with the stripes, big stripes, small stripes, 2 stripes, 1 stripe. And just within that section, you know, you can have no stripes, thin stripes, thick stripes. So it's just fun. I made several of them. And then in this hat, I made this 1 stripe, but with like kind of a basket weave. I don't know if you can see that. It has kind of a basket weave design in the stripe. So these are all for the shelter. And then I also found this little pattern, which is so cute for a baby. There's a little top knot on it. It's so cute. Little garter stitch edging, and just stockinette stitch in the body, and then you just decrease down until I think there's like 5 stitches left on the needle, and then you tie it into a little knot. And I'll put the links for these in the show notes. I'll put the link for these in the show notes so that in case you want to make the pattern. But the thing is, it's just a way of using our knitting to bless others, to bless, you know, there's many places that would be happy to accept donations of knitted items. Again, these are going to a family shelter, men's shelters, women's shelters, hospitals, children's homes. There's so many places. Even maybe community centers might be interested in getting some knitted items donated. So it's a way of sharing our craft with, you know, others and blessing them. You know, blessing our community with the work of our hands, which is a great thing to be able to do. And there is a company, I think it's called, I'll have to get the name, I'll put the name up there. But they take knitted items that you make. They provide knitted hats for people who are who've gone through chemotherapy and who've lost their hair. So they provide on their website. I'll put the link there. They provide patterns so that you can knit hats and send them in. They give you instructions for children and for babies, you know, different yarn, making sure you use very soft baby yarn. But they accept knitted hats for people who have, you know, gone through chemotherapy. They also accept knitted, I don't remember what they're called, maybe sleeves for people who have, for amputees who've lost a limb or part of a limb, and you can make a sleeve for, you know, the remaining part of the limb, so that it, you know, I guess it keeps them warm in the wintertime. And they have patterns for those. You can knit up those very quickly, these little sleeves for either for leg or arm limbs, and send them in. So I encourage you to do that. Think about, you know, how you can bless others, bless your community, bless those in need with, you know, with your knitting. Another thing that I made is this big triangle shawl. Very simple pattern. Again, I was sticking to the simple patterns. I really was. But it's in, and I think the pattern called for like white, light blue, and then at the bottom, it's kind of a color block shawl, a dark blue. So dark blue, light blue, and then white. But I like gray. I like gray and blue mixed together. I think it's so pretty. It's my favorite combination of things. And so this shawl, again, acrylic yarn, I have it here. It's by Lion brand. It's the jeans is the, and it comes in, you know, you can see here the different colors. And this is Stonewash. Stonewash was this darker, the darker blue, and I don't know what the lighter blue or the gray was called. Maybe I can find that, but just beautiful. And the drape on this fabric is spectacular. It is just so drapey and so beautiful and so soft. And it makes a very big shawl. Just put it on and just wrap. I love to just wrap up in it, and just so beautiful, and the different colors. And this is one of my favorites. I wear this a lot. So yeah, and it just hangs down in the back there with the different colorways, and it's just so nice. It took a lot of these garter stitches though. I mean, it was garter stitch city. It was on and on and on, but it was worth it. I'm so glad and so happy with this shawl. So beautiful. The Back Porch Shawl by Pear Tree Knitting. And as I said, they show the, it's another picture. They make the shawl in white, blue, white, light blue, and dark blue. But I like gray and blue. So, but just easy, a lot of garter stitching, but easy, and beautifully soft and beautiful. This is another one of my earlier makes. It's, here's a pattern for it. It's by Plymouth Yarn. It's called Spago. It's the Spago shoulder cowl. And I saw that and I thought, just my style. It's easy, it's simple, won't take too long, and it's just so elegant and pretty, especially in this beautiful kind of turquoise green blue combination that they show here. But I made this in sort of a rust. Look at those colors. I mean, beautiful red, green, gold, beautiful with the little garter ridges at the bottom. Simple, easy, beautiful, but just a great effect. Actually, let me try it on. I mean, you can wear it kind of like this way. This way, you can pull it down more over the shoulders and let it droop over one shoulder. I mean, it's just so pretty. So pretty. Beautiful, very elegant. And very simple with little garter ridges to add a little bit of interest to it. Yeah, very happy with this one because fall is my favorite time of year. I so enjoy fall colors, and this is just something that'll be perfect for fall. And this is the yarn I use. It's a very bulky, I guess super bulky, by Grand Rapide, I think it's called. And the colorway, well, I'll just show you the band. I think it's just a number that they use for the color. But it's a beautiful, I mean, if you could look at the richness of those colors, the reds and the golds and the greens, so pretty, perfect for fall. And this turned out to be a very nice yarn to use with this. You can see, very elegant, very simple, very easy, very nice. So let me take this off again. So that kind of brings us up to where I am today. That's all the things I've made over the past, I guess, 4 or 5 years, but mostly in the last 2 years when I really started to knit a lot. And as I said, let me just have a sip because I feel like I'm talking so much. As I said, I started watching these podcasts about a year ago, kind of early on in the pandemic, when we were all locked down. And I found these knitting podcasts, and a lot of the knitters, my favorite podcasters, they talk about this rustic yarn, you know, wool yarn. And everything I've knitted all my simple little patterns that I've knit have been mostly with acrylic yarn, because that's what you find in the craft stores, and that's where I started knitting. My first class was in a craft store, so I bought the yarn that they had, which is generally acrylic, and that's been fine. It's soft, it washes well, and I haven't had any trouble with it. But as I'm watching these podcasters and these women who are like beautiful knitters, you know, they're pattern designers and they do all of these really advanced type knitting, they talk about the beauty of rustic yarn and natural fibers and natural yarn. So I wanted to explore that. So that's kind of where I am now on my knitting adventure. I wanted to begin exploring these rustic yarns. Oops. Okay. So as I started hearing about these rustic yarns and, you know, using wool, natural fibers, I wanted to explore that. So I ordered some wool from Lismore Farms, and I got 4 balls of this blue and 1 of this kind of pale purple lavender. There's a little bit of blue in it as well. It's a really pretty color. I don't know if it's showing up well on here, but it's by Lismore Farms. And the first thing I thought when I got it was, oh, it's so rough. It's not like acrylic. It's I guess your hands just have to get used to the feel of it, because I thought, oh, I don't know if I'm gonna like this. But I had a pattern that I wanted to use with it, which I will show you. And this is what I made with it, which is, I have a big pile of knitted items there that I've been showing and trying on. And it's another triangular shawl in this darker blue colorway with garter stitch ridges, little, what do you call it? Yarn overs down the middle, and a little edge in yarn overs as well. Simple, easy, that's my way. But very pretty. I mean, it's pretty. It doesn't feel as scratchy as I thought, because I've had trouble with wool, wearing wool in the past. And I did soak this in water and block it, so I think that made it a little softer. But it's a pretty, very pretty, not as big as the other triangle shawl. I mean, you can see the nice ridges, have a pretty design in the back. And but I think, again, I think the wetting it and blocking it made it a little softer. But it almost felt like when I was working with this that it was hard on the hands. Like my fingers kind of hurt a little bit. They got a little tender because of the roughness of the wool as it was passing through the fingers. It different from acrylic, but I am enjoying it. And one thing that I noticed is that as I was knitting with it, it was like I was finding little bits of hay still in the, I don't know, let me see. I don't know if we can see any here, but it was, oh wait, you probably won't be able to see it. There were like little bits. There was one right here, but I don't know if you can, you can pick it up. Maybe right there. Little bits of hay all along as I was knitting. I had to pick a little hay out and knit some more and pick more hay. It was, it was surprising, but after a while I thought, okay, well, it's natural, really natural fiber. And I enjoy it. I like it. It's very warm. It takes a little getting used to. And I decided to do a shawl because I wasn't sure about having it directly on the skin. So I wanted to have make something with that I could wear with something underneath. And yeah, I like it. I like it. I think I'm going to find something to make with this one as well. This other ball is left. I have this much of the blue and this left, and then I have this. And so I don't know. I thought, from looking at it on the computer, I thought maybe the colors went together, but now that I have them and see them in person, they don't go together as well as I thought they were, as I thought they would when I saw them on the computer. But still, there's enough blue in here that it might work. I'll find some project to use them with, because I do like the wool. So continuing on in my knitting journey, on that same trip that we took to visit the school in Massachusetts for my daughter, we stopped at a knitting store in Connecticut, and she had the most beautiful yarn. It was like, oh my goodness. It's called the New England Yarn and Spindle Company. New England Yarn and Spindle Company. And I was just finding all of this beautiful, beautiful yarn. This is Icicle. Isn't that a great name? This is Icicle, and it is by, I'm just trying to get rid of the sale tax because I bought it on sale. Yes, I did. Patagonia Organic Merino. Organic Merino on sale. Pretty good. So this is Icicle, which is so pretty. It's got blue with kind of heathered with a little bit of darker blue and lighter blue in it. So I have to find something to make with that one. This is also Patagonia Organic Merino. This color is called, I think the price tags are on top of the color. So I'm not sure what this color is called, but it is beautiful, like a pale turquoise color. And it's kind of heathered as well. 100% wool. Not very scratchy, not very, this one, and I don't see any hay, so even though Lismore Farms, I can't say bad things about Lismore Farms, and they're wherever I put it, I can't say bad things about Lismore Farm. They were so good to work with. But one thing I will say, the shipping costs from Canada, I think it was $27, or maybe even more, maybe it was $32. But they even tell you, based on the cost that they have to charge you for shipping, you might not want to just buy one skein of yarn. You might want to make it worthwhile by buying a few skeins of yarn. So like I said, I bought 4 of the blue and 1 of these. So it was worth it, but I think it was about $27. So it is, but yeah, hay included. It's fine. I really like it. I will use it. And yeah, but the shipping cost was quite a bit. And so this one, again, Patagonia Organic Merino. I feel like I'm rambling on, so I'm going to try to get through this. The Fiber Company, Aaronmore Light Donegal. Another one of the yarns that I bought at this place. This is more of a greenish, pale green with heathered. So nice. And also really, really feels good against the skin. And then I bought 2 balls of this one, Jody Long in Alba. Jody Long, Alba. And this is pretty. It's kind of a tweed with little specks of red and gold and brown. Very, very pretty. So I came up to the counter to buy these. And she said, oh, I guess you sort of like turquoise. I said, yes, I do. And so beautiful, great, very nice lady at the shop. I wish I remembered her name, but it's the New England Yarn and Spindle Company. New England Yarn and Spindle Company in Southernton, Connecticut. So if you're ever that way, stop in and say hello. Beautiful yarn, beautiful, beautiful yarn. So I'm working with wool, and I'm working with natural fibers now. And the other thing I want to do is start trying for more complicated patterns, because you can see all the things that I made were very simple, very basic, which was fine to start with. But now I feel like I want to kind of broaden the horizons a little bit and begin to use more complicated patterns. And one thing that I've really gotten very much enamored with is Fair Isle knitting. So I've tried that a few times, and actually I'm going to show you my first Fair Isle attempt, which maybe was too big of a project. I shouldn't have done it. I called it the Monster. It's this sweater, which is a pretty, pretty pattern. It's pretty. It's by Alice of, oh, what is her name? Alice, I'll have to put her name up. I'm going to show you the pattern, but it's so pretty. And she has these little contrasting, she picks up the pink in the flower on the cuffs. The little cuffs are pink. And then you do the hem. You pick up the color from the color work and you do the hem in a contrasting color. It's such a pretty pattern. So nice. I'll hold it up. And it's meant to be in chunky yarn, but not this chunky. I think the chunky that she used, or the size number 5 that she used, and the size 5 of this that I bought, this, what I used was Lion Brand Hometown. You can see there. And this color is Washington Denim. Very nice, very soft, beautiful sheen on the yarn, very nice color. But their number 5 is chunkier than the number 5 that she recommends in her pattern. And so I came out with a monster. It is so thick and so heavy, but it's beautiful. You can see the beauty of her design, but I think I just used the wrong yarn. And if you can see my attempt at Fair Isle, you can see how puckered and shrunken it is. This is the neck. I don't know if I can hold it right. And the shoulder kind of slopes in, the typical puckered Fair Isle attempt. And then in between each motif, there's this space. And then when I put it on and stretch it across the shoulders, the space widens. But it's such a pretty pattern. I'm going to make it again. I'm going to get the right size yarn, and I'm going to make it, and I'm going to wear it, and it's going to be fun, and it's going to be just so pretty. It's a great pattern. Alice of, I can't think of it. I'll write it in, but beautiful pattern. So Fair Isle is my new thing of more complicated patterns, and it's a bit of a stretch for me, but I think I can do it. And I have some swatches, my Fair Isle swatches I'm going to show you. I've been swatching for it, and let me just get that. I have my swatches here. I will show you. This is one that I did, one of my color work swatches, as I'm endeavoring to practice my color work. That's one. This one, I like this blue colorway, even though I think there's a gray in there that should be a little darker because you can barely see it. So that's one, but you can see how it kind of does pucker in the middle. It's not, and I did block these to try to see if I could get the pucker out, but it's better, but it's still there. So I have to keep working on that, but I like the colorway. I think it's very pretty. It's coming along, and I'm going to keep working at it until I get it. This is another one. I really like the colors on this one. The gold and the blue and the orange and the green is so pretty together. This one also a little puckery, as you can see on the ends, but yeah, that's very tricky. I'll show you actually the back as well. There are the floats back there. They look okay as far as I can tell, but still getting the puckered Fair Isle stripes, the puckering at the Fair Isle portion of the swatch. So that's that one. This one is just sort of unfortunate. The color choices are not that good. Puckered, the floats also. So this one not so great, but I really do think these are really nice. I think they came out really well, and I'll just keep working on it. And so that's the Fair Isle that I'm trying to get better at. And the other thing that I want to do, as I mentioned before, more complicated patterns. So I have a pattern, my newest pattern that I'm working on is with, let me see, with this yarn, it's Lion Brand Mandala. It's the watercolor Mandala, and it's from Lion Brand. And it has this beautiful, if you can see that cream and brown, it reminds me of like a cafe latte. It looks just so good, and it's beautiful. I think it is acrylic. Let's see if I can just see quickly. 75% acrylic, 15% wool, and 10% nylon. So I'm working my way little by little more into the wool. But so this is a blend, but it's really soft, really pretty, and this kind of cafe au lait look is so nice. And so I'll show you, I'm making a sweater where you knit the body, and here it is. That's the body, and it has these beautiful garter ridge hem, then it goes up. And the one thing is, this colorway with the dark in it, I did not realize that it was going to come out as a stripe. I don't really like stripes. I don't really wear stripes. I was thinking that the darker color would just kind of be patches here and there, and I thought, well, that would look nice. It's like just some dark patches randomly on the sweater, but it's a definite stripe, and which is not bad, and maybe it'd still be okay. It just seems a little too busy. I like a little bit more monotone, I guess, or yeah, but I like it. And then so you work the body, and then you work the sleeves separately. So here's one sleeve that I finished with the garter ridge, cuff, and here with the sleeves, the stripes are thicker and less stripes. So I think that'll look very nice with the smaller, more frequent stripes here. And so you make the cuff, there's the sleeve, there's one, and then I started the second sleeve at just getting the cuff finished, and then I make the second sleeve, and then you join the sleeves to the sweater. And then at the yoke is this really pretty, in the pattern, it's this really pretty cable design around the yoke. So it's very subtle, it's very pretty. But with this yarn, I thought because of the color changes, the cables may get a little bit lost in there. So I'm going to try to modify the pattern to not have the cables, and I would do the cables redo the sweater with solid yarn and put the cables in, because it's a really pretty elegant cable design. And speaking of that, I wanted to it's in this book. It's a big heavy book, Interweave 100 Knits. It's 100 knitted 100 patterns in here, and they are beautiful. They have such beautiful things: sweaters, shawls, socks, hats, everything. And the pattern is from this book, and and I wish I could show it to you, but I tried to get that kind of copyright thing, and I'm only allowed to show the cover. I'm not allowed to show any pictures on the inside of the book, so I can't show you the pattern that I'm working on. But it's just a basic, and so it has everything that I like. It's simple, it's with a little bit of interest here, and then it's got the more advanced things that I'm working up to with the cables around the neck. So, but this is a beautiful book. It's got so many beautiful patterns in it. And this pattern is beautiful. I wish I could show it to you. But again, I'm going to rework the pattern to leave off the cables, because I think they would get lost in here. And I'm going to redo it in a solid color so that the cables really stand out, because it's a beautiful, elegant look. And maybe when I'm working on the sweater, I can actually show you that. I can't show you the pattern. But so that's one of the things that I'm doing as I'm continuing to expand, increase my skills as a knitter, and work on those a little bit more advanced projects, a little bit something more challenging. And as I'm talking about this book, I'm going to show you this. This is a book that I'm using as I'm working on my Fair Isle. And if you know Fair Isle at all, I'm sure you know Mary Jane Mucklestone. She has beautiful, beautiful technique with the Fair Isle. And this book, 200 Fair Isle motifs. She has 200 motifs, different motifs that you can see some of them on the cover. Again, I can only show you the cover. I can't show you inside. But you can see some of the motifs, just beautiful. So that's where I actually got the motifs, where I took my little swatch patterns from this book. And yeah, so she explains how to hold the yarn. She explains about color. She explains all the different techniques that you need to really work on Fair Isle. And then she gives you all these motifs that you can mix and match and use and put in, add them to projects that you're working on. So this is one that's been really good as far as helping me with my Fair Isle. And this is another one that I would really recommend, Alice Starmore. Again, if you know Fair Isle, I'm sure you know Alice Starmore. And her book also, classic book. She has a lot of history about Fair Isle and how it got started, and lots of patterns, but I can't show you the inside of the book again. But I can show you the cover, and just really a great resource if you want to work on Fair Isle knitting. And finally, my last book recommendation that I will give you, I talked about, the faith part of the podcast, and I talked about knowing God and the importance of that. And so if that's something that you're interested in and you feel like, well, I don't know, this God that she's talking about, this book I would recommend. It's simply Knowing God. It's by J.I. Packer, and it is a wonderful book. This is a modern classic. It just brings you right up close to God. And J.I. Packer, he's a theologian, he's a scholar, he's a smart man, but his writing is so simple, so easy to get, so easy to understand what he's saying. He just brings it right to you. And so this one, if you're curious at all about knowing God, about what does that mean, what does a relationship with God mean, this is an excellent book to buy, to read, and to reread. So this is a good one. So these are the recommendations I have as far as books. I would like to have this podcast be one that, again, is, a way of offering comfort, offering hope, encouragement, uplifting. I have this view of knitters all around the world, banding together, holding hands. Well, I guess if we hold hands, we can't really knit. So our hearts would be connected. Our hearts connected, knitters around the world, hearts connected. But with our hands, we would be knitting a huge blanket, a huge gigantic blanket that we could wrap around the entire world, wrap the world in a big giant knitted hug. And that's what I see, and that's what I envision. And so I want this podcast to be a little part of that, just a little bit of that, to inspire that kind of, because our world needs it. Our world needs it. It's been a tough year for all of us. And just that comfort, that encouragement, I want to share with you, and I wanted to have it go around the world. So I'm so grateful that you watch the podcast. And I just want you to know that you are loved and cared for more than you could possibly imagine. And that's what knowing God does. It helps you to realize how much you are loved, how much God cares for you. It means you get to know, you come into a greater awareness of how much you are loved. And that's what I want for you. That's what I want for everyone. So hopefully this podcast, again, is a small part of spreading that knowledge. And I think it'll be a great adventure. And I hope you'll join me again I look forward to it. Thank you so much. So I know it looks strange. I keep showing up in different color shirts, but as I was trying on the different knitted shawls and shrugs and things, I was changing shirts so that my shirt matched the item that I was trying on. So it just I know it looks like, oh, she's wearing a blue shirt, oh, she's wearing a gray shirt. So but yeah, I was doing that to try on the items that I was showing you. So the last thing I'd like to leave you with is, the last thought is, which kind of came to me as my daughter, again, my daughter, she has to read, for her English class, she had to read Charles Dickens' Bleak House. And actually, I have it right here. It is a very hefty book, and you can imagine for a 17-year-old in Old English, it does not seem like a tempting prospect. So she didn't want to read the book, and so I said to her, you know what, I'll read it with you, thinking that maybe that'll help her, that'll kind of motivate her to read it. I said, I'll read it with you and we can read it together. We can discuss it, because I really like Charles Dickens. A few years ago, I was reading a Charles Dickens book every Christmas time. I would read, of course, A Christmas Carol, or The Cricket on the Hearth. I think one was called, these Christmas stories that Dickens wrote. And then he had some short stories, Christmas stories. And so each Christmas I would read a Charles Dickens book, because it just made it seem much more cheery and much more cozy and just more Christmassy. So, but I haven't done that in a while, but I really like his writing. I think he's so funny, very witty, very English. So I said, I'll read it with you and we can read it together. But no, it did not make her want to read the book anymore. She did not read it. So I ended up reading the book, and I'm enjoying it. It is very thick, but it is so good. It's classic Dickens, and I'm really enjoying it. But because of the thickness, it's about 800 pages, I think, of the book. I decided, instead of trying to get it, adding in reading this book and on top of everything else I'm doing, the work at the prison, starting a podcast, home and family, what I would do, instead of adding this, trying to finish this book to all of that, what I would do is I would read it little by little, slowly, like maybe a few pages every day, and I would let it stretch out for the whole year. So that by the end of the year, at Christmas time, I would be reading Dickens again. So I thought, perfect, that works out great. So I've started reading it. I'm moving along, but I don't think we're almost halfway through the year, and my plan to read it gradually through the year is not working out so well, but I'm enjoying the book. I need to spend a little bit more time reading it so I can kind of catch up. But the reason I bring it up is that one of the characters, Esther, in the book, she was, at one point, she was kind of sitting and thinking, and she was kind of feeling down, getting a little down, kind of thinking about her life and looking at the past and saying, well, if this had happened, it would have been so much better for my life, or if this had not happened, or if things would have been different, it would have been better. And then she just kind of shakes herself and says, you know what? It's not for me to relive the past or refigure the past. She said, my part is to keep a cheerful spirit and a grateful heart. And I read that and I thought, that is so good. It's so simple and so, it's easy to remember, to keep a cheerful spirit and a grateful heart. And I thought, that's become like my little motto now. I say it all the time. I remind myself, my part, no matter what else is going on around me, no matter what else someone else is doing, my part is to keep a cheerful spirit and a grateful heart. So I wanted to share that with you and say that, again, no matter what is going on, no matter what our circumstances are, our situations are, let us try to keep a cheerful spirit and a grateful heart. It makes life so much more enjoyable, so much better for the people around us. It could be whatever is going on, difficulties at work, or cats who scratch at the door when you're trying to record, or a child who won't read what they're supposed to read. Whatever the frustrations and the small irritations of life are, if we just focus on keeping a cheerful spirit and a grateful heart, I think it would go a long way in making life more enjoyable. And so, yeah, I just wanted to share that with you. Let that be something that, you just keep in mind. Keeping a cheerful spirit and a grateful heart. It makes things just so much better. So thank you so much for joining. And before I go, the last thing I'd like to do is I'd like to pray for you before we say goodbye. So, Father, we thank you. Thank you, Lord, for this beautiful day. Thank you for this beautiful springtime season where things are coming alive again. The earth is waking up. There's flowers and birds, and even now I could hear them outside the window. Father, thank you. Thank you for this reminder that life is always renewing itself, and that you are the author of life. So I pray that you will bless the people who watch this podcast. I pray that you would bless their homes and their families. Bless them, Lord. Bless their work. And just give them a knowledge of who you are. Reveal who you are to them, Lord. If they don't know you, I pray that you would reveal yourself to them as the God of peace and the God of hope and the God of encouragement, the God of love. So thank you, Father. Thank you, Lord. And so we thank you. We're grateful to you, Lord. We pray all of these things, and we thank you for all of these things. In Jesus' name, amen. So thank you once again for joining Faith in Knitting Podcast, and I look forward to seeing you again. Remember, please do leave a comment and let me know where you're watching from. I would love to know all the different places that people are watching from. So, thanks again. That's it. And I hope that you'll return again. I hope to see you again soon. Thank you so much for watching. God bless. And until next time, keep a cheerful spirit and a grateful heart.